How's it going, everybody? Happy freaking New Year. It's TacTard Ted. It's the second day of January 2024. Hope your New Year's celebration was just peachy. I'll tell you what, nobody does fireworks like the Ukrainians. Yes, they seem to have all sorts of fireworks displays going all over Ukraine this morning. Yeah, second day of the new year, and it seems that there's a festive mood as there are explosions and light shows and everything all over Ukraine. Now, I know I'm being an asshole. I know I'm making fun of it all. But I can't kind of help myself. Being somebody who spends a little bit of time perusing Telegram, and I've got more time now because I've got a couple of milestones finished. I was off the grid for a few months. I had something I had to do that was work related, and I got that box checked, so I won't have to do that again. Certifications, we all know this is a day and time of certifications. So anyhow, a couple of days before the New Year's, the Ukrainians decided they were going to shell the city of Belgorod. Belgorod's in Russia. It's not far from the Ukrainian border in the northern part of Ukraine. They decided they were going to shell the city of Belgorod during the day on the eve of New Year's. Now, why is that important? Well, number one, if you're going to shell a city and do it during daylight, you can almost guarantee that people are going to be out and about. They also shelled it with cluster munitions. Now, cluster munitions, interesting thing about cluster munitions, we tried to say the Russians were using them early on in the Ukrainian war, and there was no evidence of this. Yet, when the United States gave cluster munitions to Ukraine, well, it was a fantastic, super stupendous, wonderful thing. I mean, cluster munitions were the greatest. Cluster munitions are simply made to kill and maim people. Yes, I was in the military. I know what they do. They're a very valuable tool if you want to kill people. Not so much break things, kill people. If you want to kill people, you want high explosive, or you want something that's got a more of a bang. Cluster just those little bits of shrapnel and shit all over the place, and it causes a problem for soft, squishy things like human bodies. So they decided to do that. Now, they hit very strategic things like the city market and the theater. The other thing, they did this on December 30th. One thing about Russian culture that a lot of you folks probably don't get is that New Year's is probably one of the biggest Russian holidays. And the reason for that is during communism, they took everything religious and they said it was no good. You can't have that. You can't have religion stuff. You have to have pre-approved commie stuff. So they moved just about everything related to Christmas to New Year's. You don't have a Christmas tree, you have a New Year's tree. You don't have Christmas decorations, you have New Year's decorations. Russian version of Santa Claus, Ded Moroz, he comes on New Year's and delivers presents to good little boys and girls all over the place. So that's the importance of New Year's. So they decided to bomb Central Market, a lot of places where they knew civilians were going to be. This was absolutely a terrorist attack. Absolutely a terrorist attack. No two ways around it. So imagine my shock and confusion when Russia decides to hit military infrastructure targets with a very low body count, by the way, all over Ukraine, and the Ukraine starts screaming terrorism. And they point to several buildings. I will tell you what, the Kinjal missile systems and the Iskanders and the other missiles that were used, the damage that they are showing in the commie blocks, the apartment blocks and around Kiev and Kharkov and places like that, are not indicative of what would have been done by a Russian missile. Now, I call things exactly the way they are. I don't pull any punches. Yeah, I'm kind of pro-Russian. I don't hide that point at all. The only thing that I could have seen that might have caused those damage, maybe the drones. And that's because I really don't understand yet the destructive force of a Duran drone. I just don't. I haven't been exposed to it. Missiles, they fuck shit up. And they fuck shit up in a big way. But I also know that the Ukrainian air defense has a less than stellar reputation. And apparently a lot of the wonder weapons that we have gave to Ukraine as far as air defense have not been living up to their claims. And a lot of these munitions, once they've been expended, go after try to blow up Russian missiles, which they don't do with Kinjal. They just admit that they cannot hit. A lot of these munitions fall onto buildings in residential areas and fuck shit up. But not as bad as they were hit by one of the full missiles. Now that brings us to another thing. The Ukrainians are crying war crime. Well, what they did to Belgorod was technically a war crime. Also, the reason that the Russians have to attack these cities to hit military targets, that is also a war crime, but not from the Russian side, from the Ukrainian side. Because if you study law of land warfare and all the things associated with it, placing your military close to civilian population is indeed a war crime. Yeah, it's a war crime. You hide your military shit in the middle of a residential neighborhood, it's a war crime. Why? Because the other side's going to fuck it up and they're going to fuck up your civilians. It's a war crime. It's called human shields. Just the same way that a hospital is a place that you're not supposed to attack, but you put military shit in there, you put a large number of troops, like the maternity hospital in Mariupol, it becomes a legitimate target. And you can't blame the other side for blowing up a legitimate military target. Had the Ukrainians not placed military shit in the maternity hospital in Mariupol, then it would have indeed been a war crime, just like churches. Churches, mosques, as some of the folks who were deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq, you could not hit those places because they were religious centers. But you put one guy with a sniper rifle or a machine gun in one of the towers and cut loose, well, suddenly that becomes a legitimate target, and you can level that sumbitch without it being a war crime. Rules of engagement, and a lot of this shit was brought up elsewhere. So the snot and tears of the Ukrainians and the Ukrainian fanboys today is very palpable. Be careful if you go on the internet, because you're liable to slip and fall on all the snot and tears that they are projecting. Let's be honest about this entire situation, folks. It's been a decade now. The Ukrainian Civil War started a decade ago. And the Russians were finally dragged into it because of shit that we did and the Ukrainians did. And I don't think we need to revisit all that again. But after 10 years of this shit, it's time that it ends. And I have a feeling it's going to end on Russia's terms. I don't see how it can't end on Russia's terms right now. The Biden administration and their stolen election are what gave us this. They're absolutely what gave us this. This is all due to Joe Biden, his lack of being able to govern, and the prevailing attitudes in the West that they can just smack anybody around. It seems to me that we have devolved. We are no longer a world leader, somebody who leads. We are a bully. We will dictate to you how it shall be, and you will comply, or there will be problems. A world leader would simply say, hey, guys, there has to be a better thing. We'll sit down and talk to you. We wouldn't even talk to Putin on the lead up to this. So we're not a leader. We're a dictator. We dictate to the world how it will be. You might want to see how that's worked out for other people that had visions of being world dictators. And here in the United States, let me not hide anything. I'm a fucking hawk. I believe in military action when it's needed. I absolutely do. I also realize that I'm very conservative. When I say needed, I mean needed. There is no other way to solve the situation. all these Reddit warriors and keyboard warriors that want to go to war right now with Russia over this, over that. Number one, we started this shit, okay? So really that makes you an aggressor. That's fine. You want to be an aggressor, that's great. I want to know what my strategic requirements are. What are our goals? If we're going to war with Russia. What's our business in fucking Ukraine? We got no business in fucking Ukraine. Let me just throw that out there. We got no business in Ukraine. We got no business in Georgia. We got no business in Eastern Europe. None. Zero. Does Russia have any business in Mexico? No. Does Russia have any business in Canada? No. That's our backyard. They need to stay the fuck out of it. 110%. Russia needs to stay the fuck out of our backyard. Guess what that also means? We need to fucking be a good neighbor and stay the fuck out of their backyard. That's how that works. I'm not sure you guys get that, you know. And I hear all these fucking retards out there. Russia invaded Ukraine. Well, yeah, no shit. Russia invaded Ukraine. Okay, and we didn't invade Iraq. We didn't invade Afghanistan. We didn't invade Panama. We didn't invade Syria. We didn't invade Libya. We didn't invade Grenada. We didn't invade the Dominican Republic. We didn't invade Cambodia. We didn't invade Laos. We didn't invade... Yeah, we fucking invaded a lot more places than the Russian Federation has. And before you say, well, you're being critical. No, I'm not being critical. I'm just pointing out the obvious. You can't go around punching other people in the face just because you feel like it, and then get pissed off because somebody else punches somebody in the face that's not you. That's not how this shit works. It's not how this shit works at all. I went around and punched people in the face, and then I'm mad because somebody else punched somebody in the face. How does that fucking work? How does that not make you a hypocrite? I don't quite get that. I'm sorry. You know, maybe I'm not seeing the great world view of everything. You know, I always seem to remember this golden rule that we were all fucking taught as kids. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Well, we pretty much believe that we can go and invade, and we do. And we do invade other countries, and it is for our benefit. Absolutely is for our benefit. I can't say that we've ever invaded a country that wasn't for our benefit. We may have invaded on what we found out later to be faulty intelligence. Well, what should have happened after that is we should have revamped our intelligence gathering, but we didn't do that. Instead, we just kind of ignored it and swept it under the rug. But by and large, everything we've done overseas, we've done for our own benefit, for our own security. And to act like no other country has that right to take care of business in their own backyard is bullshit. We'll take care of business on the other side of the planet. That's what amazes me. But countries we don't even come close to sharing a fucking border with, yet we get a little upset when Russia crosses its border to deal with a threat right on its fucking border. I guess the reason we're upset about it is because we caused the problem. We've caused the problem. We have no interest in solving the problem. We would just be just as happy if we keep pumping money, or well, some of us, not everybody in the government, but some of us would be just so happy just to keep pumping money in there and let the Ukrainians duke it out with the Russians until there are no more Ukrainians, which in itself is a war crime. And there are hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians that are dead because of your tax dollars that have been spent on weapons for a war that Ukraine is not possible to win. We have put tons of money in, not caring what the fuck happens to any of the Ukrainians. It's sad. I care more about the Ukrainians. I'm pro-Russian. I care more about the Ukrainians than a lot of you Americans do. And you Americans are my fellow Americans. It's because for whatever reason, you think it's okay to get tons of people to die as long as they're fighting somebody else. And you just really don't think about that. You don't think about the dead fathers, the dead brothers, the dead sons, all the orphans that are going to grow up. And of course, I guess you guys see that as a benefit because they're going to grow up hating Russia because it was a Russian that killed their daddy. But honestly, that's very fucking cynical. It's very, I don't know, it's very inhumane to act like that, to think that you can just go right ahead and cause other people to die because they're fighting somebody you don't like, and you're setting them up for failure. And if you honestly believed that Ukraine had a chance to win this thing, I would hope that you would grow up. And I would hope that you would understand people lied to you throughout this. The government lied to you. The media lied to you. The media still continues to lie to you. I just saw one the other day talking about Ukraine's path to victory. The only path that Ukraine has to survival is a negotiating table. Because if they are going to continue to fight it out, there will be no Ukraine. And it's that simple. If a dumb old hillbilly from Virginia can figure that out, then I'm not sure why the rest of you folks can't figure that out. Anyhow, folks, that's all I've got for you today. Hate to be a downer if you're a pro-Ukrainian keyboard warrior, but hey, Ukraine's fucked. You don't believe that? There's plenty of evidence. Oh, another thing real quick, guys. If you get a chance, join Telegram. Telegram is a great place to get a lot of cool information on a lot of cool things. And I get a lot of videos there. The government, I'm sure, doesn't want you going on Telegram because you're going to get something other than their pre-approved narrative. So, hey, anyhow, enjoy that. Take care, and I will talk to you folks later. Bye.